Good morning, everyone. I'm Hot Rod Bob, and you've got gas, the morning edition, brought to you by Service Tech, Service Equipment. Oh, thanks for joining me this morning. We've been on the road a lot, and we talk about cars a lot, but have you ever taken your car on a long trip? Have you ever driven outside your state? Have you seen some of the beauty that this country has to offer? I've been lucky enough to have driven cross country 4 times, and I tell you what, each and every time it's a different experience. I've driven up to Bonneville once, I've driven to Utah a number of times, but it always seemed I was going through there at night and didn't get to see the great Red Rock area just north of the Nevada border and the northern part there, right before you get into St. George. I've driven through Route 66 all across the nation. I drove Route 10, Route 20. I've driven the New Jersey Turnpike. I've driven up and down the eastern seaboard. I've had the pleasure and the enjoyment of driving the coast route up past Big Sur into the mountain areas, past the coast route, all the way up Highway 5 to Oregon, through the beautiful redwoods in Northern California. I've had the opportunity as a private citizen just to drive and enjoy this country, to see the many spaces, the expansive land that LBJ owned back in the day. Route 66 went right past his ranch, and I can remember for about an hour just seeing signs that told us it was LBJ's ranch. As a district manager for an automotive manufacturer, I traveled from Dallas to Denver to Arkansas on a regular basis, Louisiana Bayou, Mississippi, all through Texas, all through Arizona. I've driven in many areas. I've driven dirt roads. I've driven paved roads, back roads, hilly roads. There are still places I want to see. There's still places I'm going to drive to. Some of them have been done in old cars. Some have been done in new cars. But I've gone out and seen the country. I've seen things outside the area of my residence. I've gotten to see and meet the people that make up this vast country. The car has allowed me to do that. Now, many people say we've got to get rid of that and go to mass transportation. I've gone cross country by that as well. Mark Johnson saying he's got on the Hot Rod Power Tour in 98, 99, 20, and 21. Another great way of seeing the country and traveling with people that have similar car interests. It's a great way to do it. And that's on my bucket list, too. I have to do that. Now, I've done caravans to many places when I was in a van club with the car clubs I belong to. We've gone on short runs, 30, 40, 50 minutes, couple-hour runs. Linda Kenyon says she followed her son, who played pro baseball. It got her into 45 of the states. Yes, you miss a lot by not doing things during the day. At night, it's dark. You don't get to see the sights. And I've driven daytime, nighttime. I made the trip from Dallas to Los Angeles in 22 hours straight. Boy, was I tired. I think I slept for a day when I got back. I've driven all over the United States, seen many different philosophies in people, attitudes in people. I've seen different car styles. Car guy, I noticed the cars. I've had the opportunity to drive in other countries as well. Now, not necessarily as the driver. They were smart enough not to let me do that. But I've driven through the countrysides of Japan with my friend Takashi Kito when I worked in Japan for an auto manufacturer. He took me through many areas. There are, for car enthusiasts, a lot of places you can go. Now, Sam is saying, Fiorini, I'm sorry, Sam, messed it up again, who is just on our show. We'll be posting that shortly. He's driven from Maine to Florida, from the Atlantic Ocean to Nebraska. I love traveling by car as well. Gail Gray has been doing some car traveling, living now in Virginia again, and been in Arizona and California raised. We got to see a lot of parts of the country and meet a lot of people. The diversity of people, the issues that we seem to be having politically right now, are not necessarily shared throughout this country. And you need to go to the different states to meet and greet with the people of these states to really get a handle on what it's like. Southern California, New York, they don't represent this country. They represent their individual areas. Get out of the city. Meet the people in Mississippi, in Arkansas, in Texas, Oklahoma. See what this country is like. The best way to do it is by car. Now, I've done it by train. I don't know how many countless times I've done it by airplane, that's not even traveling. Not you don't get to see anything except a lot of space from above. I've done it by train 4 times. That is an experience as well, because you're traveling in different areas that the cars don't necessarily go. Areas where tracks are, but there are no roads. Now, I've traveled by car. I've driven in nearly 30 or 40 different states over the time. I haven't driven in Alaska, but I've been to Alaska. I've driven, I drove till the road ended when I was in Hawaii one time. Got to see a lot of beautiful country there. And it is an interesting place as well. I've driven the eastern seaboard from Maryland to Maine. It's another beautiful area. Outside the cities, people think that New York City is representative of the state of New York. It really isn't. You get outside the city, it's beautiful rolling hills and countryside. Same thing with New Jersey. And I've lived in that place. Now, I lived in New York, New Jersey, Michigan, Ohio, California, Texas, and other states along the way. And I've got to tell you, you cannot judge their states by their cities alone. You need to get out. I walked on a farm 30 miles outside Detroit that my stepfather owned. Beautiful country. You would never know you were anywhere as near Detroit in the city. It still had a one-room schoolhouse at the time across the street from where my stepfather was raised. It was not in operation at that point, but he went there when he was a kid. I've been into the city of New York. I get lost in the city of New York by car. I decided it's not the place for me to drive, but I've driven through. Take your car, get out and drive it. Enjoy. You can go cross country in any amount of time you want. Take the time, take a vacation. I have 2 friends right now, Robin and Rich, that packed it up. They sold their homes. They bought an RV. They're towing it cross country. They're living on the road. They are seeing sights they've never seen before. They're meeting people they would have not ever met before. They are enjoying this country by car. All right, by truck. And they're towing their RV with it. There's many ways of going about it. Hotels, motels are aplenty. Get in your car, get in your hot rod. Rex Rowe drives up, excuse me, from Florida with his Anglia to Bowling Green every year for the hot rod reunion. Getting with other people and cruising. Raphael, last year he drove from Louisiana to Illinois, and he lives in Italy. Raphael is watching us right now from Europe. And Europe is another place where you can drive and see different areas of the world that you don't see on postcards, you don't see on TV, you don't see in movies, but experience the world through the windshield of a car. I think you'll enjoy it. I know I have. I drove my 1954 Mercury from New York to California. Talk about an experience. I'll tell you what, I was 19 years old. It was an amazing drive. Did it with a friend. Saw the arch being built in St. Louis when I was 13 or 14 years old. It wasn't finished. Now, I've been back since and gone up into the famous St. Louis Arch. It is amazing. It is something to see. I've driven Route 66 when it looked like the movie Cars. And it was an amazing experience for me as a child and as a young adult. Now, I can say with all honesty that cars are my preferred method of travel when I have the time. And I try and make the time. Now, we drive just about every weekend, usually within 100 to 200 miles of home. And even the 100, 200 miles can change topography, the sights, the people. Now, we usually do these drives with our old cars. And that in itself makes it an adventure. It also gives you a lot of accolades from people that don't see these things on a regular basis or just enjoy. I don't know how many times I've pulled into a parking lot to get something to eat out of the fast food restaurant there, and someone will walk up and tell a story about how their grandmother had that car, or their father did, or they learned how to drive on that car. And that's one of the best parts about the traveling with an old car, is sharing it and finding the stories. Everybody's got a car story. Now, Randy Cardoon and I, on Talking About Cars, get into that with a number of different people that aren't necessarily car people in the true sense, like many of us are. But everyone's got a car story. And it doesn't matter whether you're in New Jersey, Illinois, Maryland, Texas, Tennessee, everyone has a car story. And the common bond is not politics. It's not the color of your skin. It's the car you drove. And the car you drove has no barriers. And that's one of the reasons I have always enjoyed my automotive friends. Because in most cases, there's no barriers. There are prejudices. I've got a bunch of guys that like Fords that don't like Chevys, and the guys that have Chevys don't like Fords. And, well, I'm lucky. My wife and I are bilingual when it comes to cars. We have Fords, we have Chevrolets, we have Mopards, we have a whole bunch of different brands. And, as a matter of fact, we proudly list that on the back of our station wagon's window. So how many cars have you got? How many states have you actually driven in? How many times have you driven an old car a long distance? Like I said, I drove my 54 Mercury all the way from New York City to Los Angeles. I've driven cross country 4 or 5 times on purpose, and then I've driven from state to state on business many times. I've driven Pikes Peak. Well, not as a racer, but just to see what it was when I worked in the Colorado area. I've driven, obviously, to Colorado. I've driven throughout Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana. Louisiana. New Orleans. What a wonderful place that is. But when you drive cross country, you get to see things that you may have only read about or didn't think existed. Driving to New Orleans the first time, I saw where they built houses on stilts because the water level rises. And you've got to be out of that water. I've seen homes built of cinder block, brick, wood, stucco. I've seen just about every type of construction you can imagine and every type of road, from farmland to desert, the great prairies to mountainous curvy roads. Get in your car and drive. Enjoy. Anyone can take a vacation and fly someplace. But if you really want to see the greatness of this country, get in your car and meet the people that make it up. And if you're driving an old car, I'll tell you what, you'll make a lot of new friends along the way. I'm Hot Rod Bob, and you've got gas, the morning edition, presented by Service Tech Equipment. Thanks for watching today. Have a great day. Stay happy and healthy, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow. Take care now.